We are extremely happy to have you here in our series of lectures. Professor Şükrü Hanioğlu. I will speak in Greek. Okay. You know what you have done in your life. Έλαβε το πρώτο του πτυχίο στην πολιτική επιστήμη και οικονομικά και το δακτορικό του στην πολιτική επιστήμη και τα δύο από το Πανεπιστήμιο του Ισταμπούλ. Έχει διδάξει σε τουρκικά πανεπιστήμια, στα τουρκικά στο Πανεπιστήμιο της Κωνσταντινούπολης και του Βοσπόρου, το Bogazici, στην Αμερική, στο Κολούμπια, στο Σικάγο, στο Wisconsin και στο Michigan. Ο λόγος που είπα ναι για να έρθει εδώ είναι επειδή έχει διδάξει και στην Τουρκική Ναυτική Ακαδημία. I'm making a joke at maritime history, and I said I agreed that you come here because you have taught at the Naval Academy.
Okay. Decades ago.
Είναι καθηγητής στο Πανεπιστήμιο Princeton, στο τμήμα σπουδών Εκής Ανατολής, Near Eastern Studies, και είναι professor in Near Eastern Studies και έχει επιβλέψει περίπου 20 δακτορικές διατριβές. Είναι ειδικός στην ιστορία της ύστερης Οθωμανικής περίοδου και ειδικότερα στο θέμα της Επιτροπής Ένωσης και Πρόοδου, της κύριας νεοτουρκικής οργάνωσης που πραγματοποίησε την Επανάσταση των Νεότουρκων το 1908. Έχει δημοσιεύσει πολλά άρθρα και βιβλία. Ανάμεσα στα βιβλία του είναι Ατατούρκ, an intellectual biography, από το Princeton University Press το 2011. Άλλο βιβλίο, A Brief History of the Late Ottoman Empire, πάλι Princeton University Press, από το 2008. Το Preparation for a Revolution, The Young Turks, 1902-1908, πάλι από το Princeton University Press το 2001. Και το Young Turks in Opposition από το Oxford University Press το 1995. Σήμερα θα μας μιλήσει για το The Cretan Young Turks, the Committee of Union and Progress and its branches in Crete. We're all yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Many thanks for this very kind introduction. And let me start my presentation with thanking my dear colleague, Professor Close, for inviting me to speak to this distinguished group this afternoon. It is both an honor and pleasure to be at this forum. So before I get started, let me actually say one more thing about the title. I've changed the title. Obviously, I'm going to speak about the CUP branches or Committee of Union and Progress branches in Crete, but I thought that I would rather actually, speak about their influence on the shaping of the Young Turk ideology, Young Turk Weltanschauung. So obviously, I'm going to try to cover them both. So the Young Turk opposition against the regime of Sultan Abdulhamit II, as we all know, he reigned over an empire between 1876 and 1909. This movement emerged in late 1880s as an intellectual movement, and then it evolved into full-fledged revolutionary political activity by 1906. As the Young Turk movement, which had begun as a free-spirited student organization in the Royal Colleges of Istanbul, came under increasing scrutiny by the authorities and the expensive spy network of the Hamidian regime, it was forced out of the capital to the fringes of the empire and beyond, where it quite naturally came to reflect the prevailing proto-nationalist ideology of the periphery, chafing under prevailing or pending domination of the Balkan states and European imperial powers. In later phases, especially after 1906, local representatives of branches in Crete, Cyprus, Bulgaria, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Romania, and the Caucasus deeply influenced the Weltanschauung, or the ideology of the Central Committee of Union and Progress. And in these places, local Muslim notables, tradesmen, artisans, professionals, and literati who led the Young Turk movement in these actually regions, including Crete, imbued it with a distinctively anti-Christian flavor since the supernatural Ottoman identity did not carry much weight among Muslim minorities in those former Ottoman regions that had already been or on the verge of being lost to new nation-states and imperial powers of Europe. Their publications and correspondence articulated a powerful tale. When you read those correspondence, it really articulated a powerful tale of oppression at the hands of different groups, Bulgarians, Greeks, Romanians, and others. And their proto-nationalist, strongly anti-Christian and anti-imperialist outlook reached an attentive audience within the leadership of the central organization in Paris. In fact, so influential were these local influences that by the time of the revolution of 1908, the Committee of Union and Progress had become the representative of the Turkish Muslim diaspora more than being the representative of Ottoman Turks. The historiography on the Young Turk movement has underscored the role played by Azeri, Tatar, and other Turkic individuals in shaping the Young Turk Weltanschauung. Many individual Azeri and Tatar intellectuals, such as Yusuf Akçura and Hüseyinzade Ali Turan, joined the Young Turk movement in the earlier stages. But it was only after the Russian Revolution of 1905, and thanks to the subsequent freedom enjoyed under later Tsarist rule, that elaborate organizational relations grew up between the flagship organization of the Young Turks, the Ottoman Committee of Union and Progress, and Turkic groups in the Caucasus, Crimea, and Central Asia. There is no doubt that these intellectuals who envisioned, this is a quote from one of their journals, who envisioned a Turkish nation whose head lies at the Chinese Wall and whose legs reach to the Mediterranean, end of quote, were instrumental in shaping the proto-Turkish ideology of the Committee on the Union and Progress after 1906. This should not lead us, however, to overlook the role that local Young Turks in former Ottoman provinces played in molding certain traits of the new Young Turk worldview, such as the particularly strong animus vis-à-vis Christians and explicit anti-imperialist sentiment. Thus, situating the Young Turk activity in Crete during the last years of the Hamidian regime in the larger context of local Young Turk networks within the lost Ottoman periphery might provide profound insights into the shaping of the new proto-Turkish ideology of the Committee on Union and Progress. In this periphery, the majority of local Muslims supporting the anti-Hamidian opposition subscribe to the burgeoning proto-Turkism advanced by the Young Turk journals such as Türk and Şurayı Ümmet, the official publication of the Committee on Union and Progress. The Muslim dissidents in Bosnia and Herzegovina and Crete were the two primary exceptions to this general trend. Unlike the Young Turk organizations in Bulgaria, in the Caucasus, Cyprus, and Romania, those in Bosnia and Crete did not oppose to the Turkish features of the new ideology, but prioritized their Ottoman and Muslim identities and supported a union among Muslims and a refashioned Ottomanism favoring the Muslim subjects of the Ottoman Empire. Cretan and Bosnian opponents of the Hamidian regime, likewise, adopted a fairly stronger anti-imperialist stance since they blamed the great powers of Europe and Austria-Hungary, respectively, for their loss of domination and status. Consequently, they played a significant role in shaping the anti-imperialist aspect of the new Young Turk ideology, in addition to contributing to the strong anti-Christian sentiment politicized by the Committee on Union, Progress and Union, especially after 1906. The Cretan opponents of Hamidian regime formed a branch of the Ottoman Committee of Union and Progress in the last years of the 19th century. The available Committee of Union and Progress documents reveal that a full-fledged branch was established in Crete and named as the 9th branch. It had, the committee had many branches in different places. The Paris Center sent secret membership numbers to be used in correspondence to Crete in 1896. Unfortunately, we lack further information in regard to the identities of the branch members. The leader of the central organization in Paris related in his posthumously published memoirs that a wealthy Muslim notable of Kandia, Heraklion, modern-day Heraklion, Bedri Beyzade Ethem Bey, had made substantial contributions to the publications funds of the Committee of Union and Progress during this period. Activities of this Cretan branch, operating under the name Girid İttihad-ı Osmaniyan Cemiyeti, or the Ottoman Union Society in Crete, and its smuggling of banned Young Turk publications into different regions of the empire prompted a government investigation. The authorities found secret documents and correspondence on a military medical doctor named Mustafa Bey, and then carried out a series of arrests among officials. Like other branches in the empire, this branch went into decline after the Greco-Turkish War of 1897. The reorganization of the Committee of Union and Progress in 1906 enabled the Cretan dissidents of the Hamidian regime to form one of the well-organized and most active branches of the main Young Turk organization in Hania. The Hanian branch, CPU branch, also distinguished itself as a local unit publishing an unofficial journal on a regular basis between April 1907 and the Young Turk Revolution of 1908. In addition to this branch, the Young Turk sympathizers in Kandia organized meetings, sent regular donations, and distributed Committee of Union and Progress publications. In fact, the Cretan Young Turks succeeded in establishing an efficient network that rendered invaluable services to the CPU, Committee of Progress and Union. Their contributions were not limited to donations and disseminating propaganda, however. They also reinforced the strong anti-imperialist and anti-Christian tenets of the Young Turk ideology, which dominated the intellectual debate and politics in the Ottoman Empire after the Young Turk Revolution of 1908. Like their counterparts in Bulgaria, Romania, and Cyprus, the educated Muslim elite of Crete were extremely receptive to the Young Turk propaganda, so the reorganized Committee of Union and Progress, centered in Paris, did not need to exert great efforts to establish branches on the island. The Muslim elite, extremely disheartened by the Ottoman government's inability to thwart great power intervention, viewed the Young Turk movement as a last chance to save itself from Christian domination. A leading Young Turk from Hania, Yüzbaşızade Ahmet Lütfi İbrahim, wrote, this is actually his letter to the Central Committee, "We are between life and death here. The Cretan Christians have decided to ruin us. Their success is in doubt. The Yıldız Palace is an ally of the enemy working for our destruction." The day of Yıldız Palace actually was Abdulhamit II's palace. The days of the Yıldız are numbered. The nation, however, the term millet actually can be read in two different ways. It can be translated as the nation or the religious community. However, it's being crushed, and the sacred common fatherland is approaching a terrible abyss. The religious community is dying in a state of ignorance that is combined with assurance of wisdom. The palace views those struggling to save the religious community as infidels. Our ulama, the members of the religious community, or the third establishment, with the exception of a small fraction, are traitors and self-seeking individuals. Then a certain Ekrem Bey, who had been very active in publishing letters in different young Turk journals regarding the conditions of the Cretan Muslims, he was one of the first Muslims from Crete to apply the Committee on Union and Progress Center in Paris in March 1906, in the wake of the reorganization. He demanded a special section in the official publication of the Committee of Union and Progress, Şurayü Med, to defend the rights of the Cretan Muslims and to report the Christian acts of cruelty. The CUP Central Committee, this is actually the decision sent to this person. The CUP Central Committee unanimously accepted this proposal and devoted a section of the journal to Cretan affairs and the position of Muslims on the island in the journal. The Central Committee also invited this, this is actually, this is what they say in this letter, Ekrem Bey to submit information, but warned him that he should not submit too long letters for publication, since this is a quote, since their core religions in Bulgaria, Bosnia, and even Russia wish to see articles regarding oppressions endured by Muslims living like prisoners in such countries. End quote. Around the same time, another Cretan Muslim, Yüzbaşızade Ahdülhamit Vd, we have already seen a letter by him, established contacts with the CUP Center. Deeply influenced by the example of Greek gendarmes' collection of donations for the Greek committees in Macedonia, he sent contributions to the Committee of Union and Progress. In the meantime, an educated Cretan Muslim, Tahmisraki, but he also used this Tahmisrizade, name, Mehmet Macit İlhaniya, offered services to the Committee of Union and Progress, such as providing detailed information regarding Christian brutalities, which the Central Committee would use in preparing articles for the central organ in Turkish and Meşhure Suprême Française, the official journal of the committee in French. This is actually one of the many letters of Mehmet Macit sent from SVC from Hania to the Central Committee. The Central Committee welcomed and highly appreciated these early contacts. Later, it reached a former confidant of Ahmet Rıza, a positivist intellectual who had led the Young Turk movement in the early stages and served as a leading Central Committee member after the reorganization. And this person's name was Alotizade or Alotaki. He was again using two different names. Mustafa Tevfik, about founding a CUP branch in Hania in compliance with the new regulations of the Committee of Union and Progress. Upon accepting this invitation, Alotizade Mustafa Tevfik asked Ahmet Lütfi İbrahim, the other person, to assist him in forming a branch, and the Paris Center provided them with necessary instructions. The center told them, this is actually what the center actually wrote to them, that, this is a quote, the Ottoman government could not benefit at all from the island of Crete, that has the natural disposition of a connection center among the Ottoman territories in Africa, Asia, and Europe, due to its treacherous negligence. We hope that the courageous and patriotic Muslim children of Crete would turn this island into an axis of freedom to disseminate libertarian ideas. So this is what the Central Committee told them. The Center also decided to correspond with the founders and the branch in quote, again this is actually a quote, since the Cretan Muslims are having extremely difficult time at the hands of the savage Greeks. So they also, decided to correspond with them in code, so that any authorities could not really, read and understand what kind of instructions were actually sent to Hania and other places. Unlike other branches, the CUP branch in Hania favored having a periodical published by one of its founders as an unofficial journal. When Yüzbaşızade Ahmet Lütfi İbrahim informed the CUP Center in Paris that he wanted to publish such a journal called Hilal-i Ahmer, means the Red Crescent, the CUP Center advised him to publish a local journal in Crete and recommended that he purchase used publishing equipment to start the project immediately. He subsequently procured printing equipment on behalf of the Muslim community in Hania and started publishing a journal named Sada-yı Girid, or The Voice of Crete, in 1907, in April 1907. Tahmisraki Mehmet Macit, the other person that I mentioned, became the journal's chief columnist, but soon after he left his position due to a disagreement with the director of the branch, and another person named Abdülazade Mehmet Rıfat assumed the editorship of the journal. The journal adopted a strong anti-European, especially anti-British rhetoric, in accordance with the practice of the Committee of Union and Progress central organs. It likewise sharply criticized Christian fanaticism, corresponded frequently with the Muslims in Central Asia, and urged different Muslim Ottoman ethnic groups, such as the Albanians, not to pursue separatism. It severely attacked separatist leaders such as Ismail Kemal, the pro-Greek Albanian nationalist leader, and called him a vagabond, and the CUP and the Turkish faction of the Young Turks praised the journal because of its publication policy and the ideas it promoted. The Hania branch, composed of Arnavutoğlu İbrahim Fevzi, Yüzbaşızade Ahmet Lütfi İbrahim, and another person called Suluzaki Hasan Tevfik, under the directorship of Mustafa Tevfik, rendered important services to the organization. Taking advantage of the island's strategic location and autonomous administration, the branch smuggled propaganda material into the Ottoman capital, in Kale Sultaniye, or which is Çanakkale current day, and Tripoli or Barber, and enabled the Central Committee to transfer money to its special agents within the empire. So this is actually, you can see the seal of the branch. It says Osmanlı Terakki ve İttihat Cemiyeti Hanya Şubesi, the Hanya branch of the Committee of Progress and Union. And as you can see, they numbered actually their correspondence with the Central Committee. And then this is the actual media. He was the director, and this was the Cabinet Secretary of the branch. So this is the better information about what they were doing in regard to smuggling, banned publications, or sending money to committee's members. This branch also sent its clerk, who was very fluent in Greek for obvious reasons, to Greece to help former Lieutenant Selim Kenan, a CUP Central Committee member, to establish a branch on the Ottoman-Greek border. So this is actually the letter giving information about actually the contacts between the branch and this actually person. The Central Committee further required the branch to assign a member to work for the Committee of Union and Progress in Greece, and to provide the names of trustworthy individuals who would work for the Committee of Union and Progress in various towns of the empire. Finally, the branch also kept the center posted regarding developments in Crete that the CUP could exploit in its propaganda material. The CUP Center, in addition to Hanya, the CUP Center also sought to establish a branch in Hanya, modern-day Iraq. A sympathetic subscriber to the CUP organ suggested to the Central Committee that it asked a medical doctor named Ali Rasi, who had participated in early CUP activities on the island in the late 1890s, to form a branch there. The directors of the Committee of Union and Progress External Affairs Committee followed the advice and contacted Dr. Ali Rasi in January 1907 and provided them with detailed instructions for establishing a branch. This is actually the letter, Kandiye'de it was sent actually to Ali Rasi in Kandiye, as you can see. And they gave all kinds of instructions to him, including actually, what would the seal of the committee look like. They said that it should be red, Osmanlı Terakki ve İttihat Cemiyeti Kandiye Şubesi. So they gave him all kinds of instructions to form actually a branch there. Dr. Ali Rasi was from Kandiya and had attended the civil medical school in Istanbul at the height of the initial Young Turk activities. The CUP Center also corresponded with the aforementioned Bedri Beyzade Ethem Bey, who had donated large sums to the CUP and had attempted to publish a journal called Sada-yı Girid, with the same name actually. It seems that he actually gave the printing material to the new committee, but I'm not 100% certain about it. But he actually had attempted to publish a journal with the same name, Sada-yı Girid, Voice of Crete, in 1889. You can see his actually petition to the governor of Crete, and despite actually its strong backing, despite the strong backing of Nikolaki Sartinsky Pasha, who was actually the governor of Crete, actually you can see, this is also very interesting. He sent this actually, he submitted this petition on the 12th of August, and Sartinsky Pasha forwarded to Istanbul the next day. This is kind of extraordinary because Ottoman bureaucracy worked very slowly. It's really unimaginable that the governor, reads something in less than a day and actually, reports it to Istanbul. But despite actually his, strong backing, this is the Ottoman Central Administration's decision. The Central Administration denied permission to attend there. Most probably, the Ottoman government got wind of his anti-regime inclinations. There were others in Kandia, such as the grandson of a leading notable, Azade Mehmet Behçet, a person called Şekaki Hüseyin Sari, Şekerci Ali Efendizade Ömer Şükrü, and Mithat Efendi, a teacher, who secretly corresponded with the CUP Center in Paris. Despite organizing well-attended public meetings and disseminating propaganda, however, they were unable to establish a regular branch in Kandia. As a result, the Committee of Union and Progress had no choice but to work with various young Turk supporters in that city. Among them, Şekaki Hüseyin Sari, this person, as you can see, this was sent from Kandia, sent regular donations to the center and provided it with the names of individuals willing to work for the Committee of Union and Progress. He also secretly distributed Committee of Union and Progress propaganda material and journals in the town. For security reasons, the Committee of Union and Progress Center did not introduce these sympathizers to each other and corresponded with them separately. So these people, they were all corresponding with the committee but didn't know the others who were corresponding with the committee. So while we have the names of the leading Cretan young Turks who corresponded regularly with the CUP Center on behalf of the Muslim population of the island, we know very little in regard to their constituency. It is difficult to answer questions concerning the representative qualities of the aforementioned individuals. The family names and titles of a large number of them indicate that their ancestry can be traced to notable lineages. A few others, such as Dr. Aderasi, were born to average families but enjoyed significant upward social mobility through college education in the Ottoman capital and in other major Ottoman centers. We learned from a confidential letter submitted to the CUP Center by Yüzbaşızade Ahmet Ibrahim that the director of the branch, Aybutizade Mustafa Tevfik, was from an Anatolian family that had migrated to Crete, and his real family name was Türk Alizade. A few others were of Albanian descent. It seems that all other leading figures had Greek ancestors who converted to Islam in the wake of the Ottoman conquest or in the later centuries. Many of them made handsome donations to the Committee of Union and Progress, and even gave a carte blanche to the young Turk leaders in Paris that they, this is actually a quotation from a letter, should not hesitate to ask when needed money. So these people were really pouring money to the Committee of Union and Progress. They managed to typeset and print a journal on a regular basis with local resources. Their correspondence and publications reveal that they could prose elegantly and lucidly in the stilted Ottoman Turkish of the early 20th century. These individuals flagrantly expressed the desperation felt by the upper classes of the Muslim community. Many members of this class had lost their privileged status, commercial connections, and wealth due to the gradually extended autonomy granted to Crete and the Greek drag power intervention. Some members of the Cretan Muslim elite decided to come to terms with the new realities. The young Turk supporters accused these beys, they call them beys, notables, of treason and becoming lackeys of Greeks. Among the rest, many others despairingly pleaded to the imperial palace, Abdulhamit II, for the restoration of the central rule or defending their rights. But the majority supported the young Turk movement, promising to deliver a revolutionary change in favor of the oppressed Muslims and Turks in the Ottoman periphery. In their letters to the Cretan Muslims, the CUP Center told them that, quote, defending the Ottoman rights on the island would not be possible unless the calamity of Abdulhamit II is replaced by an orderly administration, end of quote. Many upper Cretan young Turks pinned their hopes on the Committee of Union and Progress precisely for this reason. They presumed that this would be the last chance of a community doomed to extinction, and provided remarkable support to the Committee of Union and Progress. As the Committee of Union and Progress Center elucidated in a letter sent to another branch, this is also a quote, "In a time when every day a piece of our country breaks away, those brothers whose hearts are broken more than all of us due to becoming targets of degrading insults by spoiled Christians, comprehend the current threats and the delicateness of our situation better. Hence, they do not reject our patriotic hand extended to them. The Cretans are an example to all of them. The orderliness and excellence of our Cretan branch is a natural result of the aforementioned disastrous factors." So it is difficult to grasp as to whether the Muslim population in general divided along similar lines, and a substantial portion of it subscribed to the young Turk ideology. Since we do not possess written records of average people and lack significant works of oral history, the CUP publications, or Sada-yı Girid, the journal published actually in Hania, could hardly affect the larger Muslim community, which was overwhelmingly literate and using vernacular Greek as its main medium of communication. Young Turk propaganda, orally disseminated at gatherings or celebration ceremonies, might have won over some members of the middle and lower classes of the Muslim population. However, it would not be wrong to assume that the young Turk movement in Crete was mainly a Muslim upper class activity. This limitation should not, however, lead us to overlook the impact of the Muslim Cretan dissidents on the construction and evolution of the young Turk ideology. In addition to its branch members in Hania and supporters in Candia, the CUP was able to call upon many local sympathizers, thus making Crete one of the most active centers of the Committee of Union and Progress propaganda. Even before the Paris Center initiated contacts with Cretan Muslim intellectuals, Committee of Progress and Union propaganda had made extensive use of the example of Crete to illustrate, again, these are quotes, the double standards of European powers and the suppression of the Muslims at the hands of the Christians. Once these exchanges began, the branch and those sympathizers corresponding with the CUP undoubtedly persuaded the center to pay more attention to the situation of the Muslims in Crete. And in turn, the center helped the branch make the voice of the Cretan Muslims heard in Europe. During this process of bilateral influencing, Cretan Muslim dissidents significantly impacted the young Turk ideology. Unlike Turks in Bulgaria, Romania, and Cyprus, who envisioned a Turkish union, Cretan Muslims viewed themselves first and foremost as vanguard representatives of the imagined Muslim and Ottoman communities. Thus, instead of supporting the burgeoning proto-Turkish sentiment, they remained loyal to the ideals of union of Muslims and Ottomanism. Like their Jaridist counterparts in the Caucasus, they backed Muslim solidarity not as pious Muslims, but as secularist saviors of the religious community. In their correspondence and publications, they rarely and loosely use the term Turk and stress their Ottoman and Muslim identities. As their comments, such as the mother tongue of the Cretan Turks is Greek, attest that they use Muslim and Turk interchangeably, unlike Turks in Bulgaria or other places. Thus, the pen name of a Cretan Turk, as you can see here in the picture, a Cretan Turk, used by Tahmis Shraki Mehmet Majid in his novella, Firak, means separation, should not be considered an exception. Mehmet Majid most probably belonged to a notable family that had produced statesmen and literary figures, such as Girit Defterdar, the head of the financial office Tahmisçi Mehmet Efendi, and his son Ali Aziz Efendi, the Ottoman ambassador to Prussia, and the author of the famous literary work Muhayyirat Aziz Efendi, Imaginations of Aziz Efendi in 1796. Mehmet Macit's work did not by any means support the nascent proto-Turkism of the period. The protagonist of his novella, Mihri, descended from a wealthy Cretan notable family, received education in Paris and learns fluent English and French to defend the Ottoman fatherland, Muslim Ummah, and the Ottoman nation. He exerts his best efforts to draw the attention of his fellow Cretan co-religionists to the, this is a quote, commercial war that various Christian communities launched against the Muslims. He bemoans barbarian attacks by Christian brigands against Muslims and deeply regrets the great power intervention that hands over his beautiful island to Christians and forces him to leave his beloved Crete for Smyrna. Similarly, while Mehmet Macit sent pieces to Turkic journals in the Caucasus for publication, he did not contribute to the vivid Turkish debate of the period. It is interesting that, like Mehmet Macit's novella, Cretan Muslims' correspondence and publications focus on a life and death struggle between Christians and Muslims instead of a clash of ethnicities. In fact, when the CUP Center required information regarding their situation, they provided an exceedingly bleak picture and stated that the fast approaching next step seemed to be conversion to Christianity. Likewise, they used extremely strong language against those community members who had converted to Christianity to save their social status and businesses. As a leading member of the Cretan Muslim community highlighted in 1907, conversion to Christianity would break the soul connection of the Muslim community to the larger Ottoman society. This is actually a long quote that I'm reading from this letter. You are inquiring about our situation here. Alas, I would like to state that conversion to Christianity will start soon, and even at the moment it leaves its horrific marks on the community. Male and female Christian teachers have been dexterously scrapping and removing national and religious feelings for Ottomanness from the brain cells of the Muslim youth for 8 years. As known by everybody, the mother tongue of the Cretan Turks is Greek, and in addition, the customs of the Muslim and Christian Cretans are the same. Thus, only moral and religious ties connect the Islamic element to the seat of the Caliphate. The Greeks comprehended that they would receive a shattering blow if the Muslim element remains in Crete, and especially in the event that the reformist and equal rights advocates, this was obviously a reference to the Young Turks in Paris, seize power in the Ottoman Empire. The Greeks have attempted to Hellenize the Cretan Turks and invited them to becoming Christians now and then. They, however, could not venture to carry out this in a single blow. Consequently, they pondered politics that would make the Islamic element reclaim its ancestral Hellenic identity. This is very interesting because he, on the one hand, he confesses that this Islamic element had Hellenic ancestral Hellenic identities, but on the other hand, it presents it as a kind of major problem. They maintain that there is no alternative other than proselytizing or annihilating them. So end up. Thus, unlike many young Turk organizations in the former Ottoman periphery, in a similar vein with the Bosnian Muslims, the Cretan dissidents, imagined a life and death struggle not between ethnic groups, but religions. Maybe they have read, semantic. Consequently, they adopted a stronger anti-Christian stance and advocated activist retaliatory policies vis-à-vis Christians living under Ottoman rule. For instance, they invented a tradition of celebrating the anniversary of the Ottoman conquest of Constantinople. The anniversaries of this conquest were not even celebrated in the Ottoman capital itself, let alone anywhere else. And while addressing large crowds during the 455th anniversary in 1908, the representatives of the Cretan Muslim community expressed their strong desire, this is a quote, actually from this, actually they sent copies of their addresses to the Central Committee in Paris. Their strong desire to, this is a quote from the document, expel the bloodthirsty Greek invaders as their ancestors had hosted the Venetians. And this is actually one of the speeches, and this was actually a teacher, Kandiya muallimlerinden Mithat Efendi, a teacher named Mithat, a teacher in Kandiya, modern Heraklion. And the other one, this is actually, again, this is written by Şekerci Ali Efendizade, Şekerci Ali Efendizade, Ömer Şükrü. So this was actually, and this interesting enough. This actually he was he was a student in the Greek school, and then he after their after fiery speeches, they led the crowds in cheering, "Long live our community, long live our state, long live our comity." Obviously, this was a reference to the Comity of Human Progress. So their role in shaping the anti-Christian tenet of the Young Turk ideology should not be overlooked. A telling example to the evolution of this tenet is the proposal that the CUP Hania branch submitted to the Central Committee through Ahmet Rıza in the summer of 1906. They proposed that the Committee of Union Progress would issue a declaration and announce that ruthless punitive retaliations would be inflicted upon the Greeks in Smyrna and in other regions of the empire in return to the threats advanced by Cretan Christians vis-à-vis their Muslim compatriots. The CUP Center responded that, this is actually the CUP Center's response responded that such declarations would be tremendously harmful to the organization. Instead, it invited the Muslims of the island to make all possible sacrifices to defend their rights and the public order. They should not fear, this is what they wrote, they should not fear the Greek furor, but absolutely avoid unnecessary anti-Christian provocations. Such acts, the Central Council, would not serve the interests of the Committee on Union and Progress and the Muslim population of Crete. This actually happened in 1906. 2 years later, at the peak of the revolutionary activity in Macedonia, the Committee on Union and Progress issued an ultimatum to the Greek committees and clerics who had adopted an antagonistic stand vis-à-vis the revolution. The ultimatum stated, quote, "We beg our Greek compatriots at least the manifestation of neutrality, if union cannot be achieved, and that they should refrain in the name of humanity and civilization from shedding blood by attacking other elements." Elements actually was a reference to different ethnic groups or religious groups in the Ottoman Empire. Let it be known that by deviating from our sacred program and serving the idea and dream of Hellenism, our Greek brothers in Macedonia have taken a very dangerous path and are also treading underfoot the happiness and the future of the Greeks in Anatolia, who are twice their number. End of quote. So in contrast to the advice given to the Cretan Muslims 2 years prior, between 1906 and 1908, the Committee of Union and Progress adopted a stance quite similar to that of the hardliners in Hania had proposed. Obviously, we cannot attribute this change solely to the impact of the Cretan Muslims. Other CUP branches in Bulgaria, Cyprus, and the Caucasus requested the adoption of tougher anti-Bulgarian, anti-Greek, and anti-Armenian rhetorics as well. Among these, however, the Cretan Muslims supporting the Young Turk cause represented the most extreme hardline anti-Christian stance. Many thanks for listening. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This was so rich in information and insights, and I think this is more or less unknown to us here in Greece, and it connects the Muslims of Crete with the wider Ottoman context. for us, places them within the wider development. So, open to the floor. Αν θέλετε να κάνετε ερωτήσεις para ελληνικά, πάλι μπορούμε να μεταφράσουμε. Κάποια ερώτηση, λοιπόν.
One question about the archival history of these documents. So, where they found, okay, some of them, I suppose, were in the archive of the Central Committee in Paris, but as far as I understand, some others were quite of a quite local kind. So, were they preserved in a family or what kind of kind?
Yeah. Actually, I myself, I have private papers of one of the Committee of Progress's leaders, Fatih Şakir Bey, who actually reorganized the committee in 1906. And he was actually the person in charge of communicating with all these, different branches. So he obviously kept all these, letters in his own archives. And by sheer chance, I purchased actually his papers from his family members. So this is really a private archive. But for instance, this document, this is not the original actually letter. First of all, the original letter was sent in code. It wasn't actually, written in this way. It was in numbers and, it contains strange actually words that nobody could really make sense of. But this is actually the copy of what the Central Committee sent to the dissidents in Crete. And as you can see, somebody wrote Girid on top of it, to Crete. And usually we don't even have such information. It says to our beloved brother. So you got to figure out to whom they sent this. But this is actually what they kind of did something very interesting. Before sending a letter, they used actually a special kind of glue and glued actually the document with that special kind of glue, and then put it on a piece of very thin paper, so that they got actually a copy of it. So this is really a copy of it, but sometimes this is just somewhat difficult to read, since it's not a photocopy or a scanned copy that we do today. But this is actually a register that the Committee of United Progress kept, and now this actually is located in a library, in the manuscript section of a library in Istanbul, so that these are available, so that you can easily go and read them. But you got to know, actually, it's so difficult to figure out to whom these letters actually were written. But the others, obviously, sent from Crete, are in the private archives.
We know the importance of the Cretan question for the anti-Greek and the anti-Rome boycotts at the time that the Union and Progress took over the power.
After 1908.
After 1908. So, do you make a connection between the two periods and the importance of this? The importance of the Cretan connection?
I would definitely say yes, because I think these are the people that the CUP leaders knew, in Crete, obviously. And these were, when you read their, documents, clearly these are hardliners, very, even in Committee of United Progress standards, these were proposing, extreme things, even the Central Committee was saying, no, this is really too much, we can't really make such declarations. We can't tell that, we are going to take your revenge from the Cretes in Smyrna. Obviously, this won't be good for us. So even the Central Committee was saying, look, watch out, this is too much to say. And these were really hardliners, and these were the people who, even after the revolution, provided the information about Crete, to the leaders of the Committee on Union and Progress, which was really running the empire. And again, I really found some petitions sent to the Ottoman Parliament after 1908 during the boycotts and during other activities. And I looked at the people who signed them. I think all these people were on the list. There were additional ones. I don't know whether they had also worked for the committee prior to the revolution or not. That I don't know. But clearly, these people kind of continued to form later on, obviously, the central policy vis-a-vis the Cretan question, relations with the Cretan Christians, and so on and so forth.
Thank you.
Sure.
Ναι. Λίγο πιο δυνατά, γιατί έχουμε και τον αμφιτρατήρα.
Ανέφερε σχετικά με τα άτομα που του σύστηναν και να εργαστούν για την εταιρεία, ότι φρόντισαν να μην επικοινωνούν οι ίδιοι απευθείας μεταξύ τους, αλλά ότι τους ξεχώρισαν και δεν τους γνωρίζονταν. Ξέρουμε γιατί έκαναν αυτό το μέτρο.
Yeah, so our student asks why the various members did not know each other, why they kept this policy of secrecy.
Those are obviously people who formed the branch knew obviously each other's identities. Obviously there were 10 people in a branch and everybody knew, the identities of the others. But those people who could not really form a branch corresponded separately with the CUP, because CUP thought that somebody could infiltrate actually into these organizations and then tell the entire story to the authorities actually in Crete, to the representatives of the great powers, or obviously inform them to the imperial palace. Therefore it did not actually introduce these people to each other, but corresponded actually with them separately. This was for security reasons. They thought that otherwise either the palace or the authorities in Crete got wind of their activities.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I want to ask if you have seen any differences between the things that the two branches asked to the Central Committee.
But there was one branch. The only branch was in Hania. And in Candia, the branch was formed immediately after the revolution. So all those sympathizers who did not know each other, obviously there was no security problem after 1908. So they really formed a branch in the summer of 1908. And again, their requests or the information submitted by them to the Central Committee doesn't really differ much. They more or less say the same things. They repeat almost the same themes, make very hardline demands, strong. They use extensively strong language vis-a-vis Christians, and I think there isn't really a difference between I would say the young Turks in Candia and young Turks in Hania. But I would like to know, and I think the question is, as to whether they really represented, the society, the Muslim community of Crete, or they were hardliners in that, group as well. That we don't really know, because I think did they really represent, the Muslim community at large? I really don't know. That's the most important question to answer. And these are all, as I said, these people were either coming from notable families or attended colleges, in the Ottoman capital and became professionals, such as medical doctors. So I think almost all of them were upper class people, and I think in the standards of 1906, sending 500 francs, on a monthly basis to Paris for, for some people publishing a journal, it's really tells you something. It's a lot of money, in the standards of the early 20th century. And again, in their letters, for instance, in this letter, this person, here it says, if you need money, let us know. It's not any money is not an issue. We will provide, money. So again, these were also wealthy people. But the issue is really as to whether they really represented the community, or even within the community, these were kind of hardliners. But yeah, obviously, if you read those actually, addresses, read at this, newly invented tradition of, celebrating the Ottoman conquest of Constantinople, I think these were pretty harsh, addresses, and I think they were reading it to a group of people, and I don't think that all of them were upper class, Muslims.
Thanks a lot for your presentation. I would like to stick on the documents and ask you if you have any idea how the circulation of the correspondence took place. I mean, you said that there were some codified letters.
Yeah, everything that the committee sent to, and again, they said that, they informed actually other, branches that with the Cretan, dissidents, they were corresponding in code because they were afraid of the Greek authorities and the representatives of the great power. So everything was sent in code. But as far as I can tell, the letters by the Cretans were not really coded. They were really, letters and they didn't actually fear, stamping these official, documents with the seal of the committee, because once you seal it like that, then you cannot deny it that you have a secret branch, So clearly, obviously, they use their seal, all their titles, the director, Secretary General of the branch. So, for some reason, they didn't fear much, or they feared less than the center.
Κάποια άλλη ερώτηση?
Just a question. Have you been able to check all these committee members in Crete, whether they were known for being representatives in the parliament or things like that, or local notables? Do we know if they have a kind of career, political career?
Yeah, some of them, there was actually, the documents refer to a kind of, first I think there was a municipal council in Crete until the establishment of the autonomous regime. And some people were members of actually that, that council. Later on, as far as I can tell from their documents, the Muslim community set up a kind of unofficial council. I don't think that it was something official, but it was a kind of, it was a council only recognized by the Muslim community, not by anybody else, including the Ottoman center. And some people were also members of that council. So clearly these were people also in charge of the community in one way or the other. So they were hardliners, but they were also influential figures in the community as well. But again, when you read their letters, it becomes very clear that also a large member of Cretan Muslim notables came to terms with the changes actually taking place. And these people use very strong and even derogatory language for those actually notables, who had come to terms with the Greeks, with the new administration, so on and so forth. So there was also another group of notables trying to work things out with the new autonomous administration, while these people were writing to the actors. And there was actually a third group who was actually submitting letters and petitions to the imperial palace and seeking, intervention from the Ottoman center. I would say there were three major groups. The first group who decided to come to terms with the new realities, new developments, I think they represented the minority within the community. And the rest was divided into two, but those who contacted with the young Turks had a kind of majority in that second group, I would say. But these are all guesses, obviously.
Concerning the last question, I think Tsakakis was a member of the German parliament.
Who?
Tsakakis.
Okay.
Yes, I think he was a member of the German parliament in 1991 and 1993, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, could very well be, yes.
Και άλλη ερώτηση.
And related to that, do you have any kind of understanding of their, I don't know, I would say, their political opinions, whether they were more for a more democratic or, more traditional? Do they have something like a modernity in the way they're treating politics?
Yeah, this is a very good question. I think it is very interesting because these people, on the one hand, they were trying to save actually a doomed, community, because they thought that, their community was actually a doomed community. Extinction, would come very soon. This is, how they describe their situation. On the other hand, they, while they were trying to save a religious community, they were not really trying to save it as pious Muslims. From their letters, they criticized the ulama, they said that these were ignorant, people, they don't know anything about the world. And these were, in a way, it becomes very clear that these were people with strong secular inclinations, I would say. And again, this is why I liken them to the Jadidists in the Caucasus, who were actually also fighting against, the Russian regime, but strongly criticizes their own ulama. I think, they were in a similar situation. And they also, they were all, since the Committee on Iranian Progress, was trying to reinstate the Ottoman Constitution of 1876 in the Ottoman Empire. These people were also, at least on paper, constitutionalists, defending actual constitutionalism, representation, and they were dead against Abdulhamid II and his regime.
Is there any correspondence between the Turks of Crete with the Cretan Muslims that they already had left on the Critical Autonomous?
So is there any correspondence between?
I mean, the majority of the Muslim Cretans left in 1898.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and especially the hardliners.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any correspondence between the remaining?
I see. That I don't know. Obviously, in the papers of this, about Nisharki, there is no such correspondence. It doesn't really mean anything because, obviously, we have his papers, but is this a full collection or some papers, had been lost? Obviously, we don't really know. But the register, in which they copied all those letters, show that nobody actually, no Cretan who migrated to the Ottoman Empire or to another place, corresponded with or nothing was sent from the Central Committee to any Cretan, who had left the island, in 1897-98.
Κάποια άλλη ερώτηση? May I also ask, you quoted references to savage Greeks,
yes.
savage Christians, or
yes.
Do you come across a wider cultural argument, so to speak, of superiority of Muslims over Christians, or no?
No. They will use very strong language, savage, barbarian, even actually, not only in the letters, I think if you read this, novella, Firak, obviously, all the Greeks were savages, but they killed Muslims, cold-bloodedly, for joy, for no reason. So even in publications, they use such things. But on the other hand, there is really no discussion, as to whether Muslims were superior to the Greeks or vice versa. And it is also very interesting because on the one hand they say that, okay, all other ancestors were Greek, but then they started actually using a very strong language, vis-a-vis. But not actually, they did not really use that language vis-a-vis the Greeks as Greeks, but as Christians. This is the most interesting thing, because when you read, for instance, the correspondence between the CUP Center and the Bulgarian Turks in Bulgaria who supported the Committee on Union and Progress and established Committee on Union and Progress branches in Bulgaria, they really use very strong, they criticize Bulgarians, not as Christians. Obviously, they also criticize them as Christians as well. But also, they really, highlighted a kind of ethnic conflict between Bulgarians and the Turks. But in the letters and in the publications of these people, Greeks were not criticized as Greeks, but as Christians. And it really makes quite sense, because I think, their ancestors were Greeks as well. I think such a criticism would not really make much sense. And even in the, publication, they say that, well, our native tongue is Greek. But again, when you read actually their letters, these letters are written in a very, very sophisticated, way. And these are very well-educated people, clearly, and there isn't really any kind of grammatical mistake or glitches, nothing of that sort. Written in very sophisticated, very stilted language of the early 20th century, I would say. And yes, these people could write a kind of novel in Turkish, so that,
So thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
This excellent